What's up everyone? Today we're going to take a look at the Marvel Legends Ka-Zar 6-inch action figure. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, or even hit that super thanks button. I do appreciate all engagement on my channel. Here's a quick look at the box. Up top we have the Marvel logo. Down to the bottom, some product information. To the side we see artwork of Ka-Zar. Back of the box, description of the character, the other figures in the wave, and more product information. More artwork on that last side. So let's go ahead and get this one open. On the plastic tray we have the figure, and he comes with a spear, his knife, two sets of alternate hands, and of course the Zabu Build-A-Figure leg. For accessories he comes with a spear. Most of it is a brown plastic with off-white plastic for the rope over here, just below the tip that's painted in gray. He also comes with his trusty knife. This is mostly that silver plastic on the blade and gold paint for the handle. I hope this gold paint holds up and doesn't flake off. He comes with a set of fists and weapon holding hands, all cast in a flesh tone plastic, and although he has no guns, the weapon holding hands hilariously come with trigger fingers. The fists articulate in and out, while the weapon holding hands go up and down. So I'm quite pleased with the sets of alternate hands, because this gives you good options for display. And despite the trigger finger, he holds on to both his weapons just fine. So looking at my overall impression of the figure, I think Hasbro have made a strange choice. They've gone for his bare bones classic look, but instead of giving him bare feet, he's got boots on. And I think that with the boots, he's due a lot more other elements to his design that bring him closer to his slightly more modern look in the artwork. So I think he's missing that necklace with the teeth on it, some wrist gauntlets, as well as a couple of straps maybe on his biceps and his thighs. Right now he looks like quite a basic blonde caveman, but the boots throws it off a little bit for me. However, I must say that the overall proportions of the figure are great. I like the overall lean muscle tone, and he looks heroic without looking too bulky. And that looks believable for a guy living in the wilderness of the Savage Land. I do like his head sculpt. He's got a strong nose and jawline, and the digital printing means he's got very sharp paint applications for his eyes, eyebrows, lips, and even a faint 5 o'clock shadow. His blue eyes are painted kind of looking upwards, so you gotta tilt his head down just a little bit to get that steely gaze. His hair is a separate piece of pale yellow plastic with a bit of dark yellow dry brush, so that brings out the textures. However, it also unnecessarily brings out this mole line down the front, which can look a little ugly. The dry brush also seems to be applied quite roughly all over the hair. So while this looks a little bit like sloppy paintwork, I must say that it kind of works for a guy living in a savage land, as Wolverine infamously said that Ka-Zar would need a shower. And just to calm everyone's fears, no, the head isn't reused from Commander Rogers. Rogers has quite comically exaggerated features like his cheekbones, chin, and way too strong jawline. So while Ka-Zar looks similar at first glance, it might mean Hasbro hired the same sculpting artist, but Ka-Zar looks less exaggerated in comparison. His torso is sculpted really ripped. I like all that muscle definition, and also a touch of realism because he's got nipples as well. We see the same sort of muscle definition all the way down his arms as well. No paint to speak of. And onto his brown loincloth, there's a very subtle light brown dry brush on that fur, with even lighter paint for the strap over here, where you can slot his knife into. However, the light brown paint at the top of the loincloth is applied very sloppily. You can clearly see the sculpted detail like the fraying at the top, as well as the rope over here to keep his loincloth up. But the paint is just applied really thickly and sloppily, and it really doesn't look good. He's got more of the same flash tone plastic for his legs, which I believe is reused from the Vulcan body mold. And onto his boots, he's got them boots with the fur. I'll spare you the Flow Rider reference, but the fur also has that same subtle light brown dry brush that brings out the textures. Rest of his boots does have a leathery texture sculpted on, so I do like how this texture contrasts against the smoother plastic that's used for his skin. For articulation, his head is on a ball hinge, so it goes 360, not much sideways wiggle, but he does look down with his chin all the way into his chest, and upwards slightly hindered by the back of his hair sculpt. Now he's got butterfly joints, and these are quite stiff because of how the pegs are plugged into that torso, but they do click forward, and getting them backward goes about that far, but not really hitting its full range. He's got a swivel hinge at the shoulders and comes out that far with the upper bicep swivel. Double hinged elbows with pins concealed, very good range. Swivel hinge at the wrist, very good range, in and out. Mid-torso hinge, getting good range forward and backward. Slight gap when you bend him all the way back. Swivel at the waist, that's well disguised by that loincloth, he goes all the way around. Ball joints at the hips that go out that far, and also no problems forward and backward. Thigh swivel for 360. Double hinged knees with the pins concealed as well, very good range. Not hindered much by the furry sculpt on the boots. Calf swivel that's well disguised by the boot as well for 360. And finally ankle tilt that goes up and down, and ankle pivot outwards and inwards. He's on Marvel Legends standard articulation, so very fun to pose in wider action stances, or even in a more discreet, stealthy pose. So just throwing out a couple of custom ideas. His shoulder butterfly joints could come across a little stiff, so a couple of collectors could choose the peg from the shoulders that peg into the torso so that he gets much better butterfly range. But for me, I'm going to save that effort because I don't think Ka-Zar needs to get that kind of range in his arms like a martial artist like Shang-Chi would. Now as for the figure looking a little plain, here I have the Marvel Legends Fang. So just sliding on his necklace onto Ka-Zar, you can see that the figure looks more jazzed up. And I'm sure a couple of enterprising customizers could bring over a couple of elements like the gloves on Fang to give him some interesting looking wrist gauntlets. So there are some possible ways to jazz up this figure. And in terms of head swaps, you could swap it onto the Sentry figure for a powered down look. However, I do think that head looks a little too small for this body. You can also pop it onto Thor, but again, I also think that it looks too small for that huge God of Thunder body. Ka-Zar stands at 6.5 inches and that's about 16.5 centimeters. Ka-Zar and Zabu scale quite well with the X-Men. Also scaling quite well with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Here's a comparison with G.I. Joe Classified Series and Star Wars Black Series. Ka-Zar is a decent but unspectacular release. Playability and accessories for the figure are much appreciated, but he's in need of little design elements like straps and wrist gauntlets to make him look more than a basic blonde caveman. I'm hoping for a Shanna the She-Devil release and that she's given more thought into her design. Please like and share this video, let me know what you think in the comments below, subscribe to my channel or even hit the super thanks button. Thanks for watching, take care and stay safe.